Anyway, so has it sunk in for you yet? I mean, now that you're a couple weeks removed, has it sunk in for you what you guys accomplished?
Every day has been such a blessing because we've had opportunities to do some really neat and cool and fun things. And then at the same time, once you start to get tired or worn down, then you run across someone you haven't seen yet, and they're so excited that you won the championship. To answer your question, we've been ripping and running, and I really haven't had a chance to sit down and do nothing. And at that point, I bet you it'll start to sink in a little bit more.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. What, as you reflect on your run this season, whether it's the COVID pause that you guys had in the middle of February that kind of made things disjointed for a little bit, or certainly the bubble scenario in Indianapolis, what's kind of, as you think back over the course of the season, what sticks out to you beyond, of course, winning on that Monday night?
Probably the bubble experience, especially from the standpoint being able to spend 1 week at the Big 12 tournament and then 3+ weeks in Indianapolis or whatever the total days were. By the way, we probably needed to get a barber in Indianapolis by the end of that thing because everybody's hair wasn't looking too good. But 15 years from now, 20 years from now, definitely the time in the bubble from Uno games to Connect Four to karaoke night to just being able to spend time with our guys after big wins and to be able to just do life with them.
As you made your way through the bubble, as you made your way through the tournament, I think a lot of people expected for y'all and Gonzaga to be the teams that were there at the finish. But what was it like just to deal with that pressure game after game after game and to see your guys respond to it as well as they did?
Well, we were supposed to play the game on December 5th. And at that point, Coach Few and I said, if we meet here on April 5th, we're good with that, So anyway, that was something where God's plan wasn't for December 5th. It was for April 5th. And then ironically, both of our team rooms were right next to each other. So the whole time we were together. And actually, there was a pickleball court, and Coach Few and I were partners, and we were undefeated. So it was all hunky dory and great until the championship game. At that point, then it became serious because their team room's there, we're here, and we knew only one team was going to be happy after that night. But as I told Coach Few too, if we were going to lose, I'd want them to win it. And they had an unbelievable year. He's a Hall of Fame coach, but really excited and obviously ecstatic for our players having the opportunity to win a championship, the first in Baylor school history, only the second in the state of Texas, behind 1966 Texas Western.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, y'all were the two best teams. I think everybody, that was pretty clear that Baylor and Gonzaga were the two best contenders all season long. But now that you've had the opportunity to look back on what was let's call it what it is, it was a blitzkrieg that you guys sent at them in the opening couple minutes of that game and never really let it get close. From a coach's perspective, to look back at the performance that your kids put on the floor, I mean, I got to imagine you couldn't have scripted it.
No, that I liked how it turned out. Not gonna lie about that, but you always come up with a game plan, and if you execute it, you're gonna have a chance to win. But at the same time, you had mentioned, or your question prior to that was dealing with pressure, being the two best teams, and that's what makes March Madness March Madness. It's a 40-minute game. In the NBA, it's 4 or 7, so the best team usually wins. In college basketball, in a 40-minute game, anything can happen. That's why you have March Madness. So the fact that you had the number 1 and number 2 seeded teams in the tournament actually make it to the end. And I know we're both seeded number 1, but in the overall seeding, they're 1, we're 2. To make it to the end doesn't happen very often, and very seldom in college basketball. So with us, I know our guys were excited to play that game, especially since December 5th when that game was canceled, because the best want to play against the best. And they were ranked number one all year long, and rightfully so. But at the same time, we had a group of guys that believe we should be ranked number one, and we finally got to have an opportunity to play the game.
Take me back to 2003, especially in the context of what you've now accomplished. Could you even hear from there?
Well, 2003, I was a lot younger, so I'd have probably said yes and a lot sooner, because you got that young and dumbness about you sometimes. But I definitely knew that Baylor, we could build an elite basketball program. And you look at it since 2008, only us in Kansas have won 18 or more games a year in the Power Five. You look at it in the last 5 seasons, 3 of those seasons, we've been ranked number one. And there's only 4 schools that have done that. So last year we had a 23-game win streak, longest in Big 12 history. We were ranked number one longer than anyone since Kentucky in 2015 at the time. So we've had success, and it's been consistent. But what early on, what you envision being successful, you work extremely hard to get there. But I tell you what, God's timing is always best. And like in 2010, when we lost to Duke in the Elite Eight, looking back, you're like, man, we could have won a national championship. We could have won this game, and they won it all. And then in 2012, you lose to Kentucky, and they're the best team, but maybe we're the second best team. So you're knocking, you're right there at the door, but you don't get in. And then it takes this long to get to a Final Four, and you appreciate it that much more. So I say all that to say, normally coaches always think best case when they take a job. But when you knock on the door and don't get there, it makes you appreciate it that much more when you do.
I'm not asking you to speak ill of your predecessor. That's not where I'm trying to go here. But if you can, just kind of paint the picture of what you took over.
Well, it was, first of all, a walk-on's dream from the standpoint we had 5 to 7 scholarship players. So half the roster is filled out with walk-ons. And at Baylor University, it's an expensive school. It's over $60,000 a year now. I don't know what it was back then. But when you have an expensive school, an academic school, you don't have a lot of 6'9" athletic guys walking around that are paying for tuition because they're playing somewhere else, right? So we did the walk-on tryouts, and surprisingly, we walk into the arena and there's a bunch of size and athleticism, and we're like, whoa, where these guys been at campus? So we call everyone over. We say, all right, so where do you live? What year in school? What's your major? And a hand goes up, like, wait, coach, we got to go to school at Baylor. Yeah, you got to go to school at Baylor to play for Baylor. So hence, most of the guys walk out the gym. Everyone that drove up from Houston and Dallas and were from junior colleges thinking they could just play on the team and not go to school, they left. We were stuck with the 6-foot walk-ons for the most part. So we didn't finish in last place. We won 3 games, and that was a remarkable year. But obviously, when you have half a scholarship team, that makes it tough. Year 3, we find out the final sanctions come down, and we were the only school in NCAA history to just play a half a season. So if anyone's ever in that situation, we can give them some advice because we went through it. And the toughest thing is not only practicing for a whole 3 months, 4 months longer than everyone else, but then it's kind of like, we're blessed in Texas, 75-mile-an-hour speed limits. You're flying down the highway. Well, come January, we're just getting on the ramp, right? So we're going 20, 30, 40. These teams are flying past us. So you're not having success after you practiced all this amount of time. So that wasn't the best of years. We did finish on a high note, which probably set up us to get to the NCAA tournament in 2008 for the first time in 20 years. And that kind of really got us rolling to where the program is today.
As you look back over basically 18 years worth now, is there if you were to write the book of your time at Baylor, what's kind of that climax? You guys had to get past a certain point to then set you up for, like you're saying, 2008, you guys started to kind of maybe that's the answer, where you guys did finally start to get it rolling, to then 2010 happened, 2012 happened, and then, of course, this year as well.
Well, I would definitely say 2008 was a crucial part from the standpoint. Once you make the NCAA tournament, now you have so much momentum going and so much excitement about your program. And the irony is, you go back 2008, and Joe Lenardi said we're in the tournament. So if he says you're in the tournament, you're in the tournament, right? So we have the whole floor full of Baylor people, first tournament in 20 years, and you get to the last school to be called. At that point, you're like, did Joe mess up? You know, and what are we going to tell all these people we don't go to the tournament? You know, so that was huge when that finally we were the last team called. And we were able to celebrate and get the momentum going and have the celebration to definitely show future recruits and everyone where the program was going.
The fact that this is your story and certainly the Baylor program story, does it make this season that much sweeter? Does it make it feel like that much more of an accomplishment because of where it all began?
Oh, definitely. The harder you work, the harder you train, the longer you persevere, the more you appreciate something. And again, that's why I thought 2010 and 2012 helped me personally and our staff probably appreciate the Final Four that much more, because when you're close and don't get there, when you do get there, you know how blessed you are to have achieved that. And at the same time, over 18 years, you develop a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships. And the best thing about winning a championship is everyone gets to celebrate. And if you're in coaching because you want to see young people be successful, and probably means that you're excited when other people are successful. So for us in coaching, for 18 years, you have all these people that support you, believe in you, and now you win a championship and they're able to celebrate it and be excited about it and be a part of it. That makes it that much more rewarding and exciting for us.
I saw you had posted a picture. This was from a couple of years ago at this point, of you and I think it was Terrence Thomas that was on that first team that you had here at Baylor. And this was, I think, 2018 or whatever. Maybe he was coming back for a camp, I think, if memory serves. Just the fact that even guys from back then are staying in touch with the program. What does that mean to you about what you've kind of built here beyond just the on-court success?
Well, and that's something where in sports, seldom do coaching staff stay for extended period of time. And when they do, it really does allow for past players to normally be more engaged. And what I mean by that, people don't go back to buildings, they go back to people and relationships. And because we've had such continuity on our staff, Coach Tang and I have been here together for 18 years. And a lot of our coaches have been a part of this program for 8, 12, 14 years. So a lot of relationships. In the summertime, we call it Vet Week. We try to get all our vets back. But just the fact those that are done playing come to games, will stop in, say hello. That's one of the things that brings my heart the most joy, because that means they enjoyed their time here. They appreciate it, and now they want to give back to others in that situation, which was them in college 10, 12, 15, 18 years ago. The other thing I really liked is when we had our parade, what we were able to do is we had all the past players, and it could have been their family members or whoever they wanted to walk with in the parade, and they led the parade. So you had Carol Dawson, who coached here, played here, a legend with the Houston Rockets. You had people like that, Terry Teagle, the Brian Skinners of the world, the Michael Williams, David Wesley. I mean, you had all those people that had an opportunity to come back and walk in the parade prior to our current players. And so that was really an honor and treat to see them and their families be celebrated, because they really laid the foundation to us achieving this championship. And we wanted to thank them for that.
What did you have to say to, like, whether it's Terrence Thomas or anybody else that was on that team in 03, 04, especially I think Terrence was on the team prior as well. So he was one of the few kind of carryovers from one year to the next. What do you have to say in that circumstance when, I mean, obviously anybody that's still there, you'd imagine anyway, or at least I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong here, wasn't involved in the things that led to problems. So they're kind of as much a victim in this as anybody, where they've got to walk around with a Baylor basketball jacket on and at that time, unfortunately, that wasn't necessarily a huge source of pride for them.
Right.
How do you bring those guys in a circumstance like that, when you're coming into such a, I mean, it's probably as crazy a job as you could ever imagine taking over, I think.
Well, first and foremost, we're thankful for those that chose to stay and chose to help rebuild the program. And we knew that they had options to leave because our administration granted anyone a waiver to go play anywhere they wanted right away. So the fact they chose to stay, knowing that, you know what, we're probably not going to win a ton of games because we only got half the scholarships that everyone else has. So the fact that they put Baylor first and what they sacrificed for the university helped us to. And again, that year we didn't finish in last place, which was a huge accomplishment. But those people really sacrificed a lot. And I know Matt Saman wrote a book, The Leftovers, and those guys still come back. They're part of our program. Terrence has been phenomenal since day one and poured a lot into our program, especially with our young people when he comes back and, as he says, shares his knowledge.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. So just big picture, if somebody says, how did you do this? How did you take over this program that was in as much disrepair as, and let's be honest, as there ever could be, and bit by bit by bit by bit build this program into not only a national contender, but a national power and now a national champion?
Yeah. Well, this year we won it, and we had a culture of joy, which was Jesus, others, yourself. And it's clear that you don't build a program unless you have a great staff, and then you have players that are really committed to improving and getting better. Head coaches often get too much credit or too much blame, but if you're blessed to have a great staff and great players, you got a chance to be successful. And all those guys that have come in and worked so hard to build this program, they're the ones that are the real winners. And we're thankful for them and the staff that poured in all kinds of time and energy and work ethic for this. Again, they deserve that. And as far as there's two things when you're building the program. One is you got to deal with success and make sure that you stay hungry and you stay grounded and you handle success. And then you got to handle the valleys. And that's what athletics does is it prepares you for both. You're going to have great wins. You're probably going to have some tough losses, and you got to be able to handle and adapt to both of those and move on from both of those, learn from them. And that's life. I mean, I know right now you're getting sleep, but in a couple of weeks, months, when you have that newborn, it's going to be a little different. There's going to be some bags in the eyes. but what a blessing you're in store for parenthood. And that's kind of what coaching is. People want to know all the time, what do we do? Well, how many kids do you have? You got 3, you got 2. Okay, we got 15, 13 on scholarship, 2 walk-ons. So you can imagine each day what life is like, a bunch of ups and downs. And you want to have people that are energy givers and high character to do life with.
Coach, listen, thank you. I appreciate the time. I really do.
Well, you did a great job. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for your questions, and good luck with parenthood. You'll be great. You'll love it.
Thanks, Coach, and congrats again.
All right. Take care.
Take care.